We are, team. Um, let's do this. Okay. And then I have, then for the next lesson after this, I have a figure that I wanted to go over. It's a farmer. He's got a pitchfork and a hoe, and he's wearing clogs, and he's a Dutch farmer. And it's the piece we're going to sketch first is a Van Gogh, but it wasn't a Van Gogh originally. So we'll get into that after this. And I know everyone, would like to know figure stuff. And Millet is one of the great figure artists of all time, and Van Gogh is studying Millet. It's spelled millet. Okay, just like I suspected. Here come the stragglers. Yes, I'm glad I didn't start. All right, everybody. Mr. Messick, good to see you in your silhouette. He's testifying under anonymity. Okay, so like I was saying, we're gonna this exercise has got so many layers. It's a warm up, but it's got so many fun things going on, and I'll explain them as we go. But I decided I was going to start. You may not want to make there's going to be a lot of shading in this one, so you may not want to make it too big. But I probably should have mentioned that earlier. It's all right. You guys can just sketch quickly. I'm going to start with the circle. There's kind of like a round part. I wonder if you can see this. Whoa, look at that. Okay, cool. So this is like the abstract. I never saw this. The guy's name is Christopher Joseph. You can look him up. He's like a legitimate artist. So just on an abstract tip, we have a circle over here, and then there's got this really long flat bottom, and then there's like the curving part of the beak. So it like angles up and over, and then links back up, and there seems to be a little transition out of it. Almost looks like a tape dispenser shape. But definitely a circle down here, and definitely a flat bottom. I had not noticed that flat bottom. So let me put it back, and it's just the all of the cutouts and the drawing itself is just like so powerful and beautiful that like you don't even like necessarily see kind of the abstract silhouette. So wow, I'm drawing this in a different way. Even just like tilting it so that this is a flat bottom is not the way that it hangs in our house. This is some of Kristen's and my collection. I have a couple other pieces that we might sketch for warm-ups in the future, but this is one of my favorite pieces, and I didn't even buy it. This was Kristen's. So here we go. We're gonna go through that bottom, and then as we came off that circle on the top, I was really kind of hyper aware, at least in the back, that there's like a transition before it starts to like level out into this beak. And then the other thing that I was noticing is that the beak tilted forward a little bit. So this guy may be actually a like Seahawks kind of do that. Have you ever seen like the logo for the Seattle Seahawks? Like the beak almost like comes back down in. So I don't want to get too heavy on this silhouette. Really, I don't, because I was going to actually start in from the circle of the eye and then build around from that. So if I were to draw a line through the middle, the circle is of the eye. We're going to make it, slightly above center. And we've got to protect the lines, the light of the wood. It's like kind of balsa wood. We want to protect those lines because that's what's not going to get the shading. So Mr. Messick and some of the other guys and everybody that is watching this on a pre-record, before I started recording, I was saying that in this tradition, artistic tradition, there's the parts kind of make up a whole, and the parts also symbolize much, larger varied elements. So the eye itself is the first one we're going to start with. And yes, it's an eye. It's a black circle. But if anybody's seen a total eclipse, you can Google it. Just get like total eclipse, solar eclipse. The sun, the moon comes in front of the sun, and it creates this incredible silhouette of the corona. So you see the actual rays of the sun around the moon because they are the perfect proportion. And when you're in the complete shadow, that's all you see. And honestly, it looks like a pupil. It looks like the pupil in the iris. That's the closest thing that I can compare it to. But here we've got an eye, and the way that the rays of the light are kind of shooting out from the sun, create almost like a a tear duct and like the crease in the corner of the eye. All right, so my next move, I think I'm gonna come a little bit forward. Ooh, that's awesome. Okay, so I had never seen this part before, but if you look at the triangle where it's cut, kind of separates the top of the beak and the nostril from the rest of the head. Just that cut itself, that triangle, reads to me like a talon of a bird, and that's beautiful and wonderful. And that cut goes right up to the edge. So the silhouette comes up here, and then I need another cut to basically frame out the eye. You could almost imagine the shape around the eye, as being a section of space. You could imagine like there's stars in this background. So yes, it's a patch around the eye, but it is also it's also you know infinite space, whatever you think about spaces. The bottom of this moment here is the top of the beak. So I'm beginning this edge here on the eye patch, has to be, continued forward and taken all the way up, separating kind of the mouth from the nasal part of the beak. So even though this thing is very abstract and it almost feels like it's a simple drawing, you always want to associate a name, a left brain name for what it is that you're drawing. And it's nice when you can draw an eagle's eye and an eclipse and drawing the exact same thing. I love that. I just love that ability. It's kind of like I was telling my class earlier, like if you've ever like been talking to somebody on the phone and then there's somebody in the room and they both say this one thing and you say the same sentence and it applies to both people at the exact same time in totally different contexts. That's only happened like 2 or 3 times in my life, and it's so fun. All right, looks like I'm gonna have to expand around the outside. But see, this is why I didn't want to go too big, because it just takes, shading just takes a while, especially when you can't blend. Okay, so maybe I'll stick with the known and go into the unknown. So the known is the bottom of this beak, and I'm going to draw the silhouette of the cutout of the outside of this beak, separating the top of the beak from the mouth. And I don't have any other like kind of associations with that. I love this triangle though.
Trevor, do we know who Moth is?
No.
I think I asked this
It's
question.
Milana again. My
Oh,
name
yeah.
went to Moth. Once
That's right.
again.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thanks, Milana. Sebastian made it to the party. I'll admit him in. Drawing the dark areas and not sketching the lines is also called negative space. The space negative space is a generic term that a lot of my art teachers cringed when they said negative space, because there's no such thing as negative space. But it's if somebody puts their arm up like this and it creates an empty space between the arm and the head, that triangle that's being created there, that can be seen as negative space, and it's useful in terms of communicating, whether it's accurate, true, it's true meaning. Whether it's an accurate meaning, I'm not so sure. So Sebastian, welcome to the party. We're sketching this really beautiful Inuit carved wood piece. It's an eagle's head, and it's made up of all these little component parts. I would say it's got like, let's just call it 5 component parts. We started with the eye, which was a black circle, and the circle could also be seen as an eclipse. So the area around the eye, I was thinking would be like outer space. So there's that eye patch, which is also a section of space. Then we carved off this section that was between the nasal part of the beak and the mouth part of the beak. So that's the eye, then there's the mouth, and then there's the nose. That's 3 parts. Then there's the top of the head with the feathers on the top, and then there's the cheek feathers kind of leading into the neck. And the cheek feathers can double as shark's teeth. The feathers on the top of the head are almost like little islands, in the water, or maybe even rocks in a stream. So there's kind of like little miniature metaphors going on with the type of marks that they're using in the drawing. And this one was a little bit more abstract thinking, but I always imagined this mouth, this being a triangle, as also being a miniature landscape. Like you have this little island, you have this little piece of land, this little stretch of land that I'm drawing here, and this little sky in the background. Who knows? I'm sure it's open for interpretation, but even still, the beak, is dark. And so even at the most base level, you can shade in a shape that represents the beak with a slightly lighter opening for the mouth. And this is a warm up just to get some shapes, get something that looks interesting. Have you ever seen like the way that the wings of a bird, or even an airplane rather, if you were to take the wings of an airplane and cut it and slice it off, like the shape that it would make to get lift is the same shape that we're using here for the nostril. So we've got that little, like a nostril hole, but it's also the form of a bird's wing from the side. I had to take my undergraduate degree is in architecture. In order to graduate with a degree in architecture, you had to take an entire year of physics, an entire year of calculus. So I took and in classes, and those classes are a lot easier when you take them in the summer. So one summer I took this year of calculus in one summer, taught by this like retired, airline pilot. And all he did was talk about airplanes and the physics of like flying. And we looked at a lot of really interesting things. So I feel like I learned more about airplanes than I did about calculus, but I guess that's why you take it in the summer. But yeah, that shape, that flat bottom with the curve on the top, you can almost imagine the wind coming across and then creating that lift, from the bottom, and like the surface, the larger surface on the top with the shorter distance on the bottom, creating the enough lift to pull the airplane off the ground. Yes. All right. So if anybody has any commentary or sees anything that I haven't seen and you think it's a good idea, please tell me, because I look at this every morning. It's on our refrigerator actually. And I think about this piece a lot. I have drawn it before, but not for a long time. Okay, so I've got this rim around my eye patch, and I've got I'm drawing around the line. It's kind of a backwards thinking. Usually we think about drawing the lines positively. Here the lines that he carved out, we're preserving on the paper. And it was essentially like I think it was the piece of wood that was carved off, smoothed out, painted black, and then he carved out with a like a chisel. Let's do the little stream or the islands off in the distance. That's probably my most favorite one, because that's the one that really resonates. Like I really see those little arches. You have a flat bottom and a curved top, and these flat bottoms is where the water would like level up to any object that was kind of coming out. My original circle is way small, so if you see the back of my eye patch, my original circle has got to be much larger in order for it to make sense. So I got flat bottoms, I've got the arch, and with as many different islands that double as the feathers on the top of the head for the eagle, whatever shape you're seeing, feel free to fill that space. When I say the shape, I mean like kind of the top of the head. Use artistic license. Like don't copy necessarily each one of the slits that he made, but make yours look good. I think I can fit one more in there. And they all are relatively close to the same size, which is also kind of interesting. It's one thing to draw it one time And it's another thing to get the to get the practice in drawing the same thing multiple times. It does really take some skill. Even if it's a simple shape, drawing the same thing simply, a simple thing multiple times the same way, though it might be tedious. It's a good challenge. Okay, so he cuts off. It's an interesting solution for the. Oh no, what's going on here? When did it start verifying update? Are you guys seeing this?
It just started like a minute ago. I mean, like a few seconds ago.
Okay, cool. I have no idea what this is though. I wonder if anybody took a screenshot. Maybe we'll just let it verify. It looks like it might be resetting. Should we draw it from? I guess you'll have to draw it from imagination. Do you know what happened with that?
It's probably, oh no. It's probably doing a software update.
Why?
It must have been an automatic update. It's going to take a while.
How long?
I don't know.
I don't have a chalkboard here. So, but team Thursday, I did get a brand new. Check this out. I did get a webcam.
Do you want this?
The only problem is the USB port's not the same.
Trevor.
I almost threw it across the room. What is that? No, it's not gonna work. We could draw some Nagy videos. We could do a screen share with the on YouTube. All right, this is gonna be an exercise. I just hid my I hid my drawing, so I'm gonna try and do it from memory. Although that's not fair, because I see it every day. Wonder if I can clamp it.
Just hold it up. Just keep an eye on that. It
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, it'll be fine. This is why the guy gave us double stick tape. Hold on. That was a fail. Wait, is that in reverse, you guys? Are you seeing it in reverse?
It's was.
It's what?
It's the same as it was
Oh, good.
before. Okay.
Thank you. Look, this thing. I don't think it's going to take very long. Hopefully not long enough. Hopefully not longer. All right, what does that look like? Might as well stop the share, right? It's like halfway done. I can still see it fine. So whatever it calls, the feathers that are on behind the eye, this bottom right hand section of the bird, they're kind of trapezoids, but they don't have, they're like three-sided trapezoids. So with their longest part is not closed off. And that's the part that has the shark's teeth. I'm doing this in reverse. Which way does it go? It goes this way. 1, 2, 3. You can also think about the shape in between as a T, as like a sideways T with kind of a curving top. So that was interesting. I drew the outside lines to all of the parts that were not to get filled in. And that was so much faster. I actually do think that I told it to do this. It was like earlier it said, "Does you want an update?" And I said no later. And then they made me put in a password. And I think I was like giving them permission to start it in an hour or something. Let's see. Hopefully the update hasn't screwed up the workings of it. All right, we're back in business. Didn't take too long. Double stick tape over everything. Okay. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Those earlier construction lines, you can see them running through here. I mean, it's amazing how much smaller my original circle was. You just kind of, with color pencil, you just got to pray that you went light enough. If it was a graphite, you can just carve it out. This reminds me of some like video game. I'm just like filling in these spaces. What game is that? Yeah, the artist lives in Alaska. And you can find some, he makes prints, lithography prints, and you can find his work. It's like a little bit expensive, but actually it's like for a really cool artist, it's actually pretty affordable. Like, I think you can still buy this for like $50 or something like that. All right, here we go. Can I see what you guys did? Does it look good? Should I add more colors? There's another dimension to this that I didn't bring up, and maybe I will add another color. If you look at the way that the light is scraping across, the way the gouge, that's how you carve this thing, is with a gouge. So if I draw it up here, there's like the gouge itself is like a V-shaped, sharp V-shaped instrument that's like kind of attached to a piece of wood. So this like V here, and this blade, the blade is pokey on this side. It curls out wedges of wood. So if you look hard, I'll zoom in a little bit. If you look hard at these lines, the way the light goes, you can actually see like that every carve is like a V, and so there's a little subtle shadow, and it's a really elegant type of cut. And it almost creates like a line in the middle of every one of these cuts, because it's the one side of the V meets with the other. So it's like the deepest part of the trench. Excuse me. Too much coffee. So if you want to add another layer of another interesting layer, especially if you want bigger, you could draw that line and then determine where the light source is coming from. You shade either above or below, depending on where the shadow is. Now, I don't know if this green was probably the wisest choice, but I'm into taking risks artistically. When you get good at, really confident drawing, you almost have like this like certain amount of detachment from the piece, and like, yeah, you want it to go well, but you're not like so emotionally attached that like you're it's like debilitating if it goes bad, or like it puts you in a bad mood. It's just like I compare it to like sports. It's like if you got upset about every foul shot that you missed, or like every shot on goal that you didn't go in, like you wouldn't be able to play the game. So art's kind of the same the same way. Like you win some, you lose some. And having that like healthy detachment. I mean, maybe I'll just fill in the whole shape green. Nah, I'll stay true. I do like this. I do like an extra color in there. And honestly, the green isn't looking that bad. Complementary opposites with red and green, oftentimes don't work, but this isn't red. It's like a maroon, so it like leans towards violet, and the green actually complements that this red shade, this warm shade. These little islands, these little green islands, loving it. Dark edge along the top of the eye. Okay. Okay, that's perfect. This took a half hour. The warm-up is a half an hour. I'm so happy. Sometimes the warm-ups take the whole time. And that's no good. I might crisp up some of my edges. I actually like my drawing. Oh, green. Yeah, that little shark's tooth is so small. I made it so small. That was the part that I was doing during the camera hiatus. But now mine's different than it would have been before. It's all a beautiful factor that I didn't have control over. All right. So I think what we're gonna do. Are you guys ever? There's this radio station called TMD. It's like Towson University's radio station. It's actually a large corporation. It's not like a local, college radio station. Even though they like present themselves that way. But at 5 o'clock, they have a thing called the 5 o'clock shadow, where they play an original song, and then they follow it up by a cover, like a cover album, a cover song. So like if Bob Dylan wrote a song and then like, Britney Spears covered it, they play both right next to each other, so you can see both artists' interpretations. The Van Gogh piece that we're doing here is, it's his idea of a master copy or a cover song. So he's covering a song by another artist, and we're going to do Van Gogh's version first, and then we'll do the original artist following it. And it's just an important thing to recognize that you need to work from nature. Drawing from nature is probably the most important thing, because nature is the source for all creativity. But studying art and learning the tools of the trade, the techniques of artists and great men and women that have come before us that have chosen to make art with their time here, studying their ideas make you a more informed and a more capable artist. So like by studying Van Gogh, studying Millet, it kind of, you get to have that artistic tradition. You get to own it, that Western thought, this string of ideas that have been passed down, through hundreds of years. And Millet, if to understand Millet, you have to understand Courbet. To understand Courbet, you have to understand, I don't know where you would go before Courbet, like Hubert, neoclassicism, and then before then it's Baroque, and then before then it's the Renaissance, and then before then it was the Dark Ages, and when the last time we went, basically goes back to the ancients. So there's a huge jump during the Middle and Dark Ages, but we don't have to go there right now. But so far, since the Renaissance, there's been a relatively constant thread of progress, and we're still moving forward to a better and brighter golden age. So we're gonna keep that going. Anyway, you guys ready to do this? Let's have a. Can I see what you guys did? You want to just like hold it up real fast? I'm not even gonna stop the share. I just want to see the little thumbnails. Did anybody get anything good? If somebody got something really bad, I would like to see that. And if something did something kind of good, I'll look at that. And if somebody just crushed it and made an amazing piece, I'd love to see that too. I just covered all of the ways that this could have been drawn. Julia, come on, let's see it. Let's see yours.
I don't think you covered all of the ways.
Oh my God.
This is walrus. I was thinking walruses, and then this,
yes,
that happened. So I did that.
All right.
I tried,
I like,
but I got distracted.
I like artistic interpretations. All right, let's keep it going. Who else? Who wants to show? Mr. Messick, let's see what you got, boss.
So, I don't know. I kind of started with the thing we were doing. Then I kind of made a mistake and I didn't really like it. So I tried to stick with like the wood carving type thing. So I tried to do like a totem pole or something.
Ooh, nice.
I got like the first head.
Very cool. Oh my goodness. I like that. You know what they say? All art is a self-portrait. Maya, can I see yours? And then Estelle, you're next if you want to go. Oh, that's stunning. Thank you, Maya. So you seem like you got it. I mean, you got it and definitely enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it too? On top of understanding it? Nice. Let's see. Kaya. Can we, you want to hold it up? Yes, no. Yes, no. Estelle, you want to show yours? Kaya doesn't want to show hers. Anybody else? Anybody else? Any takers? Sebastian, you want to do it? Oh, there she is. There's Estelle. Just hold it. No, you don't want to do it. This is it. Yes, you're so close. Let's do it. Let's see it.
Okay. So I also got distracted. I'm at my grandparents' house, so it's in
Nice.
my math book with all of my school drawings from today. But
Yeah.
that's what I have.
Well, you've had a pretty productive day. That's beautiful. So I mean, I said go small. I mean, I probably spent too much time on it anyway. Sebastian, can I see yours?
I got really distracted too because my first one didn't come out
Well-
good. So I was just doing random symbols.
Nice. It's hard to see. It's hard to see there. Now you don't have to call it distracted. You can just call it inspired. I got super inspired to do something other than the project. Okay, let's get a fresh sheet of paper. If you guys want to participate, this figure is going to be a. It's going to start off as basically a bunch of blocks, a bunch of two-dimensional shapes, stick figures almost, but with shapes. Let me move you all over. Move this guy up. All right, so this is, by the way, just to show you the whole picture. This is the whole design. Van Gogh at this stage was drawing a lot of prints, so he would like get reproductions from great masters that he loved, and then he would they were all in black and white. And what he would one of the goals that Van Gogh was trying to do was make colorist pictures, like paint colors in a way that had never been painted before. So he took other people's structure, other people's drawings, the form, the proportions, and then by using a black and white version, he would paint using his own colors. And then this picture has obviously symbolism of Mary, Mary and Joseph, I think, riding to like Bethlehem or whatever. But I don't know. Millet was a big proponent of like kind of the peasant class in France, and like was kind of saw beauty in the farm work, and also was like kind of an advocate for them as well through his art. It was Millet was a really important guy, good guy. Let's see, move this over. All right, sweet. Love that pitchfork. Okay, I think I'm going to switch over and do graphite, even though I'm probably going to regret it later, but there's probably going to be moments where we need to erase. But the figure is a, it's such a bear, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not the easiest thing to tackle, but we're going to turn this into a series of large shapes, and then we're going to like focus in and turn them into like more detailed shapes, and then we'll like add some details to make it look like folds and noses and mouths and things. The key is that we have to link up all the parts of the body together. So let's start with just a circle for the head. Oh yeah. There's his head. Now the other thing about faces is that the heads, the human necks actually don't, when you look at somebody straight on, if you look at me straight on, it looks like our neck is going like up and down. And from this angle it is, but if you turned like anybody from the side, the head like juts out at like kind of an aggressive angle. And Van Gogh does accomplish that actually. So we're drawing the neck here, and we're just going to use a regular rectangle or a square, whatever, but don't make it go up and down. It's at this hardcore angle. I think one of the things that can be fun, we got an S curve in here for the brim of the hat. I don't think it's going to be a bad move to just like throw a hat on him, as basic as that might be. The brim is an S curve, so just do 2 S curves and you'll cut that head in half. Like when you don't have the hair, you don't have the back of the cranium of the head, it's hard for it to look like a person. And so that circle was the right move for the head. And there's this little point for the nose, but the brim of the hat is going to make this guy look way more human than you could ever imagine. All right, so team, we are moving. I said we're going to do a lot of 2-dimensional shapes, and we are, but we have to get this one 3-dimensional component, and that's of the torso. So I want you to imagine the collar as like a necklace. And so we're basically just going to draw the collar around, almost like a donut, wrapping around, and we're going to make that head look, make the neck look more cylindrical, but the collar is really, really cylindrical. And that's going to be really so helpful for when we do the, the torso, and then add the arms to the torso. So let's do the front of the chest here. And then you want to think of, I don't know if you've ever seen like action figures, but like have ripped apart like action figures. I used to have He-Man figures, and sometimes the springs would get broken. I wouldn't like mutilate them or anything, but they would break, and like you could actually see all the component parts, and it's very similar. How you reconstruct a drawing is very similar to the way you would actually build an action figure. Oh, come on, paper, yes. Looks like my guy's a little bit bigger than the example, which is, I'm totally fine with it. All right, now this top portion, believe it or not, is gauged off of the angle of the sternum. So from the pit of the neck, which the collar covers up, and you can feel it in your pit of the neck, and then the breastplate comes down, and it comes down at an angle, just like a tie. It's actually the reason neckties look like neckties is that it mimics and expands on the form of the breastbone, the collarbone. So that's the angle that it comes down here, and then right when you get below there, you're going to get an underplane for the bottom of the pectorals. So this is the top, the big broad part of the chest, and then it cuts in ever so slightly. And this is where the rib cage begins. And it's called the acostal arch. If he was not wearing a shirt, like there's this like epic rib cage that happens along that arch. We don't have the anatomy, nor do we need it for this phase. But let's do the cube, which is the front of the shirt. So you can almost imagine if he had the jersey, I guess the number on the jersey would be higher, but bear with me on the form here. We're going to do the front of the chest, the front of the shirt, and then we're going to do the side of the shirt. Now you have to use your X-ray vision to do the side of the shirt, and but you'll see where these brush strokes, this is the front, this is the side of the cube, and then he makes it look like it's fabric at the end. He's thinking of cubes, but then he's like, oh wait, I have to make it look like fabric. So then he puts this little S-curve turn down there. All right, now the rest of this thing is going to be, the legs are blocks as well. So if you follow the front, the middle of the sternum, down the middle of his belly, then you get the middle of where the seam where the fly would be in the jeans. So you follow the sternum down, follow the middle of the shirt, and you go down into the jeans, and then the left leg is a long trapezoid that's angled back. So if you can follow the dark shadow on that thigh, that's what this angle is. So you have the front of the jeans, which are light, and you have the back of those jeans, which are dark. And then everyone knows that it goes hip to knee, and when you get to the knee, that's where the transition happens. It's the knee joint. So then we're going to come just add that two-dimensional shape of the leg, which goes from knee to ankle, and then ankle to foot. And I'm just going to use a two-dimensional shape here. The fact that I built the 3D block of the rib cage and the 3D block of that thigh, it's like totally early on to be doing that. It's just, it was so obvious that I couldn't leave it. I just couldn't leave it out. And especially when you look beyond his arm that's tucked into his, underneath the flap, this is the shadow side of the thigh. You can see the back of his torso is also in shadow. Okay, so if his left leg is back, his right leg is going to be forward. So let's find where the legs split, and then we're going to come down and build the top of the front of the thigh, and then we're going to do the inner part of the thigh. And that would be probably more in shadow, believe it or not. But we're going to use a trapezoid again. I like to use a circle for the knee joint area through the pants, because that's where the knee cap is, and everybody can identify with the knee cap. It says knee. He's using a block. See how he uses like a little square. Like when you are, we don't have to go into it, but with Van Gogh's painting techniques, you can actually see it up here in the clouds. He's making short, decisive, straight line marks. So the nature of his marks is that it's an accumulation of all these small straight lines. So the way that he's painting, requires him to use these, you know, like a cube instead of a curve. And we can get into all those other, we can get into that his, you know, Van Gogh's techniques later, but this is just a principled base. So now you have that knee block, and then this is a really beautiful vertical element. And I think there's going to be a combination between the vertical of the back of the arm here and the vertical of this front leg. So this is the weight bearing leg. And again, I'm following the dark part of that shadow and it going straight to the ground. So yes, it's a cube. We've got the front of the shin makes like a nice cube, and we've got a back of the shin. And then he's got the light side and the shadow side. So the light is definitely coming from up above and to the left. And if you look at the way, and we're not there yet, but let's just do it. We'll put in that rectangle for the foot, just a rectangle. We'll come in and draw the clogs later. But because the light is going this way, you can see that there's a blue shadow on the ground here, and there's also a shadow underneath the foot over there. Cool. I had not even, you know, thought about this. Yeah, but you know, sometimes we didn't really we didn't really draw the hips. You know, the hips are like, you know, imagine you wearing like a bathing suit bottom or whatever. The shirt is so long that it kind of comes over the hips. I was trying to find when I was just thinking out loud there. The knee, this knee, the knee that's behind is lower, and the knee that's in the front is higher. And when that happens, this hip usually angles down because it's lower too. And then to counter that, the body counter shifts, and you can like see it yourself. You put your weight on one side, you know, there's a counter change there, but the shoulders look like they're pretty balanced. And that might be because he's got the pitchfork. Nice. All right, so we've got torso, both legs. When you're drawing a human that is bilaterally symmetrical, in this early phase, you kind of want the arms and the legs to be roughly the same size. Just like stand back and be like, are these legs, do they look like they'd be mirror images of each other? They look like they're about the same size. You know, one leg could be a little bit longer, one leg could be a little bit shorter, but if it looks like super awkward, you got to make that adjustment. So when I looked at this, I was thinking this is all going to be two-dimensional shapes, but he makes it so easy for us with the cubes. So there's this side cube over here for the arm. I'm going to draw, this is the shape I'm drawing. I'm just going to give you a cheat sheet. There's this block, and then we're going to do a long rectangle like that. So add the square here, that's the shoulder, and then it's going to go shoulder to elbow, and then the elbow is like the kneecap in a way where you like kind of add that extra form, and then it's going to go from elbow down to wrist. This white rectangle and this brown handle, I think is a hoe. I think it's a hand hoe. It functions a little like an axe, and that is the handle, and you come down in that hacking motion, but instead of the hacks being vertical, it's a flatter disc that's like arched, and it digs into the ground, and you can plant stuff and you can harvest stuff. A lot of the hoes that you see in, you know, like we're in this day and age, they look like that, and they have like little, this is what mine looks like. It's got a handle. Maybe it's even at a different angle. I'm going to erase that because that was not a good drawing. I guess it would have to be sideways. Yes, and then the handle runs this way. Okay, that's better. At first you don't succeed. You can try and try and try again. All right, that's what like the hose look like today, and they're actually more have full length handles like like that pitchfork does. But the way he's carrying it is like he's got his hand in his pocket, and the hoe is hooked onto his wrist, so he's not actually gripping it. His hand is going in, and then it's coming around, and so it's like the hoe is hooked on that like connection point between the hand in the pocket. And I think when we look at the Millet's version, we draw this the second time, it's going to make Millet really understood it because it was his own idea. Van Gogh is just copying somebody else's work, so it's not his like original idea. And that's like a really important thing to know. Like, this isn't really considered art. Like, we are just studying masterpieces, like people that have made art, so we can be on their level, so we can stand on their shoulders and then contribute further. But you have to understand what they're doing in order to do that. So that being said, the hoe itself is actually a rectangle, and then the handle is kind of this really, it's kind of like a nice elegant art curve hanging off the side. Whew. Man, that's crazy. If you wanted to add a little bit of shading on this side, that could be good. What is occurring on the right, should occur on the left. So we're going to go, his arms look kind of short, and they still look short, in his version. And like the way that this handle to the pitchfork goes, it's a little bit frustrating because it covers up like the far side of the arm. So I'm going to imagine that there's no pitchfork there. I'm going to go shoulder to elbow, and then let me erase these lines, and then I'm going to go elbow to wrist, and then the wrist hangs over, and I'm just going to use a circle for that hand. Now you could use a block because that's going to anticipate the fingers on this side and then the thumb on this side. Back of the hand there. All right, fine. Use a block. So the top of the block, front of the block, then the side of the block, and let that be the symbol for the hand. Hands really are. I mean, if you look at my hand right now, the knuckles are the front plane, the palm is the top plane, and then my palm is the side plane. It doesn't matter which way I move it. Bottom, front, top. It's an incredible little geometric phenomenon. And then you move the fingers around and they change. He's using wonderfully more of this cube, but I wanted it to be a cylinder. He's not even gripping. He's not even gripping the handle, which is great. It's like it's kind of like I don't know if you've ever seen guys like carrying. I guess it's like carrying the the hand is the counterweight to the balance, the weight of the metal of the fork. Is that not going to fit on? Oh, it just barely fits on. I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. The pitchfork has 3 teeth, just like a regular fork. It goes a sidebar, and then the wooden handle connects to the center, and then it looks like his is very well used. If you look at Millet's, which I think we'll be able to zoom in, each one of the teeth actually has a top and a side. It's pretty cool, but we're not there yet. All right. Let's I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and then we can do some details. And it's not going to be that many details, but we need to acknowledge some of the shading, like where's the light side, where's the shadow side, where there's some folds, where's the nose and the mouth. I don't want to go crazy on here, but part of what makes the the next phase interesting is that you get to spend a little bit more time kind of detailing the silhouette. I plotted this thing out in generalities, And it's so that everything can be, so it's just so you can understand the what goes into this piece. But like the joy of it is in the details of it. So I want to do the other one and show the same, like that Van Gogh was thinking about the same constructions, and we will. But I also don't want to miss out on some of the details on this guy. So I'm gonna, for the moment, I'm gonna zoom in on the face. Unless I should slow down. Am I going like a lightning? Is this like a lightning round, or am I going too slow? Does anybody have any questions? No? Yes? No? So the next stage of this, what you call like rendering, is a lot of times you want to add more marks, but some of the things require erasing some marks. So one of the parts that I was looking at where it's going to need erasing is where I built this shoulder, and it's going to need to be, those lines are going to need to be erased a little bit, and then we'll worry with more heavier marks on the silhouette. We'll maybe make that sleeve puff out a little bit, and then maybe make the elbow puff out, and then just darken it up. So like that's what I mean. Like we're not like doing anything like super crazy different, but we are going to go through and clean this guy up. And you may not be able to see my drawing, but I want you to be able to see it. And I will go off of, I'm going to go off the screen here so that I don't feel like I'm cheating. Yes, I can. Why did that keep getting? There it goes. Oh, that's right. All right. So my guy will be on there. That is amazing. All right. Cool. So here we go. I'm going to do this face right off the screen. So one of the big divisions between objects in Van Gogh does this, and he's very clear about it, is that the hat is distinctly the hat. The face is the face. The shirt is the shirt. The arm is the arm. The sky is the sky. And you can actually see how heavy he really is on a lot of the silhouettes. And there'll be teachers that'll tell you, don't only draw the silhouette, don't just draw the outline, draw inside of the outline. That's fine. But when you're at this stage and you plotted everything out, you're allowed to do the silhouette. So I'm actually I know the hat is in the right place. I know it's in the right place because I drew all the parts. I have the torso, I have the legs, I've got the arms, I got the feet, I know this is in the right place. If you started off drawing the hat and just detailed that hat right off the bat, then you could go into the face, and then you get into the arm, and then you realize, oh my God, the face is in the wrong place. And now I have to erase either the hat or the face to fix it. Now we know everything's in the right place. So you can actually, spend some time and detail the hat, knowing that it's going to be, in the right place. Cool. So where I started that was the bottom of the brim, really separating that brim from the face, knowing that it's separate, that they're two distinct things. And, the brim looks like it's maybe even a little bit bigger than I had originally had it. And there's the part of the brim of the hat where you can tell it touches the skull on the front and the back. And then there's the excess part. It's I don't know if it's stylized, but it's maybe a little, there's space up there that's taller than the actual hat. The light is coming from the left, so I know the back of the hat is going to be darker than the front of the hat. I'm sketching in pencil. He's using oil paint, so I'll never make the marks look exactly the same. The underside of the brim is in shadow. I can sketch that in. And then he doesn't even have any eyes, but the eye sockets are in shadow because of the brim casting the shadow. And it's weird because it's like that's I could maybe it could be like a knitted woven hay. It could be like a hay hat. I don't know if you've ever seen. There's mostly like top hats that are like super fancy, but like the Amish will make them. You can knit the hats together with actual straw, like straw hats. And I suspect that might be what this is. So I'm going to add a little texture in the light part to make it look like straw. And that's just like a notation for myself. This guy's got a pretty well-defined nose. It's like the bridge of the nose, then the front ball of the nose, the little nostril, upper lip into the mouth, lower lip into the chin. All my guys wound up looking like me. It's like that is it's believe it or not, it's a really good character trait. So when you draw portraits of people, they'll be sitting in front of you and they wind up looking a little bit like you. You tend to put your own, features into the drawings. Like when I was talking to Mr. Messick, when I was saying that like all art is a self-portrait, it really kind of is. You just can't help but put your own proportions into the drawing. All right. It's so and it's so small. My drawing is so small that it's hard to get all those. It's hard to get the details. As long as you have a mark that indicates the eyes, a little L shape for the nose, L shape for the upper lip, L shape for the lower lip, and then the chin. It should look a little like something. And as far as the shapes go, the neck is going to be part of the face. For the torso, I'm just basically going to be copying brush strokes. So I did notice that there was the collar that was really round, and we put that in the beginning. I'm looking at some of the marks for on the chest, and then down the front. I am going to have to erase some of these construction lines. And by copying Van Gogh's like mark making, I'm hoping to make it. I'm hoping that by following his lead, it will look like fabric. Now it just looks like it's furry. I mean, it's really, really. It looks so furry. I guess because it's blue. I mean, if it was painted brown, it might actually look like fur. But now that it's painted blue, it looks like clothes. I don't know. What I do know is that there are light marks and then there are dark marks. And the light blue and the dark blue, you want to make those feel, oh, maybe that's the answer. Maybe I need to blend. Has anybody else been blending? Oh my gosh, that helps so much. Okay, so I gotta erase the front of, I put in all those furry marks, and that got really, really, really almost messy because I was I was trying to copy his mark making, and that may not have been the right way to go. So I'm gonna I'm gonna erase the front and make it a light gray. And then on the inside of the arm, I'm gonna make it a dark gray, and on the back of the arm, I'm gonna make it a dark gray. That's the answer. I'm gonna turn the whole body into light gray and dark gray, depending on where I see it. So I got a light gray for the front of the leg. And I'm gonna go darker gray for the inside of the leg. I'm gonna do a dark gray for the back of the calf, and then a light gray for the front. Light gray for the front, dark gray for the back. Dark gray for the back. Ooh, light gray for the front. It's got to be the same for the arm. Cool. So what happens after you blend a little bit, you kind of oftentimes lose the drawing, and when you lose the drawing, you have to like find it again. So I'm gonna like look at the silhouetted edge, and I'm gonna try and copy that. There's the front of the shirt, the bottom of the shirt, the front of the thigh leading into the knee, the back of the thigh leading into the knee. Nice. Got the fabric. The fabric seems like it's a little bit looser. I guess it's loose everywhere, but they're not skinny jeans. And they have these bell bottoms at the base. Yes. And if some of those silhouette lines are dark and you see those more dark lines inside, put them in. It's this crazy fold at the inner part of the thigh there. And thankfully, the large shapes are where they should be. So by me copying these, what are called contours or the silhouette lines, they should be kind of in the right spot. Wow. There's like a staircase of marks going down the side of that shadow. We got some folds. The back of his shirt comes back further than I had originally had it. Minor correction. As far as the feet go, the feet are in three parts. He's got like light blue socks, which you see the heels, and then it looks like he's wearing slippers, but they're clogs. So we get the bell bottoms, and then there's this little section of heel. And you have the top of the slipper and then the side of the slipper. I'm not even going to worry about texture, but I am going to fill it in. Zoom out even further. We're going to do the heel first, so you get a sense that there is a sock. It's just a small shape. And then you have the side where the slipper touches the ground. You get the front of the slipper and then the top. And these are, I think, like wooden clogs. The handle's a little darker. I'm so nervous about whether I should go in and shade the face or not because those marks look so nice up there. But when I was doing the face and the hat, I wasn't planning on blending. And when you like sketch and you start shading without blending, you kind of go too dark. And when I blend the area where I went too dark, there's probably too much pigment. I mean, I went too dark if I was blending. But the guy's got, he is pretty, the lightest part, I mean, if you squint your eyes, the lightest part of the whole piece is the reflection off of this piece of metal down here. To the point where I actually thought originally that it was fabric because it was so bright. And if you squint your eyes and the background of the sky is so light, the hat, even in the light part of the hat, is pretty dark, and even in the light parts of the face, they're pretty dark. So it's the blue outfit that's the brightest in the metal of that hoe. I'm so tempted to like put in these little lines that give you the direction of the brush stroke. But it's weird because it's like if I do that, then I'm not drawing a character. I'm actually drawing paint strokes. I'm drawing a painting, which is different than drawing a guy walking on the road. The pitchfork is very dark compared to the sky. You squint your eyes at that sky, it's a very, very light blue. Oh my gosh, there's a lady with a dog. Did anybody see that? Oh, that's a dog. I'm like almost positive. And that is definitely, at least it's a person with a dog. I'm gonna put that in there. Little dog tail. Oh, I made it look like a. What are those flying monkeys from the Wizard of Oz? I was thinking it could have been a shepherd person, but I think it's just somebody walking on the road. All right, so I'm gonna give maybe a 5-minute warning on this guy. You can do what's called punching your darks and punching your lights. So when you punch your darks, look for the deepest darks. There's like the tip of the pitchfork. It's like the back of the collar has a dark note. The inside of the wrist where the band where the underside, the actual underside of the pitchfork has a really dark note. And then punch your lights. So you can pull out the highlight that's in the top of the hat. If you haven't already, pulled out the highlights in that hoe, and then you can add some texture marks to the clothes where they are a little bit lighter. Maybe even the top of the shoe. And then definitely some low lights in the heel, and then in the base of the shoe, and then even in some of those shadows. In this 5 minutes, if somebody's already finished or whatever, I was just interested in the side of the road here. There's this nice little series of fun colors and brushstrokes indicating like the rough dirt road, and then the green, kind of the tall green bushes and grass that line the edge of it. The rest of the landscape in the background, there is a horizon line. The horizon line is where the ground, the earth meets the sky. And there is a texture of flow in the sky, but I don't think I'm really going to mess with any of that. Some of the boulder marks showing up the side of the road. And you really get a sense of his painting techniques where he's just really disciplined about like decisive mark making. Like his boom, like they have little curves to them. I mean, it's not like he doesn't do curves at all, but so many of the brushstrokes are very similar. Now there's some big ones, there's some small ones. There is a nice variation, but it's almost pixelated. There's all these little teeny marks. He's not blending. He doesn't blend with the paint. They're decisive marks. He lays the mark, he lets it stay there. Ooh, there's a little even handle. I didn't see that. Look at the handle to the shovel hanging out on the other side of the hand. A very bold blue. Unbelievable. He tried to make it read like a shadow, but some of the boldest blue, I think, in the whole picture is this, the shadow part of the handle. I mean, if he was wearing a blue outfit, that shadow would have been dark, but not bright. And that blue is a bright blue. All right, one more minute. Classic Van Gogh, distant trees. I wonder if this road continues. She's on the road. I wonder if it comes out the other side. I want it to. I just don't know if it does. It must. So we built the blocks and then we decorated the blocks. The round part of the collar is, cylindrical, and then it looks like there's a cuff, which I had not noticed because the same color blue that was in the sleeve, the cuff on his sleeve, is so similar to the trees in the background. And in the way that this may have been, it'll be interesting. I had a student today where we got really detailed, very specific with this ship last week, and then this week we did like the clouds and the mistiness and the ocean and the reflection, and it was way looser. And she really liked the technical part last week and found the looseness more challenging. And then another woman found the technical part more challenging, and the looseness part she found very easy. And I really can relate to that a lot. Parts that are easy for some people are hard for others, and then other styles that seem like second nature to you could be really challenging for somebody else. That's why it's good to study, multiple variations of it. So this next part, we're probably not going to have time to sketch the, detail the whole thing, but I think we should attempt to sketch it again, mainly so we can see the similarities and differences between, the two artists. So you have an option, actually. You could try to start again, or you can use the original version to improve your version. So that's actually a crazy idea. I might actually go in and start manipulating my drawing using the other person's, using Mie's original. That would be amazing, and almost like correcting it. We'll see if that's the way to go. I'm going to show the version. So this is the Van Gogh version. You might want to look up for a second. So this is the and I'll zoom in. So this is what the whole composition looked like, and this is the copy. Now Mie had he explored the same subject in different ways. So this is, the guy walking with the pitchfork. He's got this, the long flowing shirt, the big kneecaps. The woman is sitting here with her feet in the basket on the donkey. She's on top of the hill. He's behind the hill. Kind of just the same stuff. There's a landscape, there's the ground, there's a path, there's the grass. It's just a different arrangement of the subject. And just because you draw one thing one time doesn't mean you can't draw it a bunch of different ways. This is another one. I apologize. This is a low resolution image, similar to the second one, but introduced a couple sheep, which I think is kind of fun. Switched hands with the pitchfork, and it's more kind of the front view and not the side view. All right, so this is, and I have a better version of this one. Okay, so then this one is the pastel version. I can zoom in on him. This isn't the highest resolution, but this is Mie adding his own color. And notice there's a blue top and a different color for the trousers. And you can really see how the handle of the hoe, you can see the top of the hoe, you get the details of that tool, where Van Gogh was not able to capture it. Just interesting. So this is the original sketch, and then this is the reproduction, which is the one that I'll zoom back out and use. And this is the version that Van Gogh was copying off of. So this is what Van Gogh used to get the piece that we just spent the last 45 minutes hour looking at. There's the dog. Yes. There's the so it is a shepherd. I told you, I knew it was a shepherd. Van Gogh didn't paint the sheep. So it's a shepherd with his staff, and then his the sheepdog. It's a sheepdog. Let me check that out really quickly. Did Van Gogh really leave out the sheep? He didn't. I was blind. Look at that. These abstractions are these marks back here are the sheep. I just couldn't see it. I just couldn't see him. But that is definitely a flock of sheep. That's a sheepdog. And there's the lady. Unbelievable. Mind blown. Mind blown. I've looked at this painting a lot. All right. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of take it or leave it, in terms of the whether you want to remake it or whether you want to use Mie to to almost to recreate or recorrect our own drawing. Would anybody want to see me draw this again, I mean, I'm gonna have to go really fast to do it, but you don't have to like feel like you can keep up. But I kind of want to draw this again and see what Van Gogh did differently than Millet. Let's do it. I'm just gonna draw it again. If you don't want to start from scratch, this isn't gonna change. This will stay fixed. So you can use some of the mark making in the road and in the shadows, the grass, and then even in the figure itself. Some of these details you'll be able to use hopefully. And look at the shadows. Way more shadows underneath the brim of the hat and on the back of the shirt. I think that's about as big as I can make make this for you all. Wow. All right, I'm going to start with an oval. Get the angle of the neck. I started with this little pointy nature to the finding the point of the nose in the middle of the head. The brim, Van Gogh did this really elegant S curve. Millet uses almost a straight line, and then it kicks up towards the back. That really is a different hat, which is interesting. Now you can see the back of the hat where it touches the skull, and the front where it touches the skull, and then it kind of curves up into this angled cone. All right. You see the collar, the inside of the collar. Now there's much more of a trapezius back here. That's interesting. So you have the angle of the neck, and then you have the trapezius, which goes in the back, and then there is the rounded part of the collar, just like how Van Gogh had originally designed it. Now you can follow the flow. There's almost like these pleats in the collar, and you can follow the pleats down the front very similarly as to how we built the torso. Now there's some extra folds in there that get the shirt isn't straight, it gets tucked up underneath that arm. Interesting. And instead of it being a cube, it's more of like an arc on this shoulder, like a semicircle for the shoulder, which is different than the Van Gogh cube. And the arm itself is made up of 3 planes and not 2 planes. So there's the light side front, the mid-tone that faces us, and then there's the shadow side that's in the back. That arm. Also pretty interesting. There's the fold that goes in the back, which represents the trapezius, which is good. I've already made the shirt too big, but I'm just analyzing the structure here. I do like almost like the echo of the collar, that rim of the collar. You can kind of see some of the folds on the shirt, almost like a bib, the way a bib would work when the folds run down. You have the armpit, and the inside underneath the armpit does go darker, just like Van Gogh did. And then the folds are a little bit more detailed. So you do see Van Gogh did emphasize almost the cylindrical nature of that fold of the shirt that was up against the hoe. Now the hoe in this picture is really coming from underneath the fabric of his shirt. And that was not necessarily the case before that. Still curved, rectangle, still the lightest part of the picture, which I appreciate. But it does have a third dimension, so it has a side plane to the metal. And that had not existed in the Van Gogh. So then the sleeve tucks under. There is this teardrop fold at the elbow, which Van Gogh picked up on beautifully. And then the handle really does come from underneath both the handle of the hoe and the sleeve. And it is like, clearly a cylinder with the way that the Millet gives you the XY. So there's the bracelet lines that create the cylinder in the short run, and then long grid lines running the length of the handle. Cool. There's another like teardrop fold that runs across the front, and we do have a little bit of an overlapping where the far side is behind the middle, which then disappears behind the hoe. Cool. Van Gogh was on point when he was, seeing how the shirt did come down and kind of like overlap where the legs were split, and where the this thigh begins as a trapezoid, and the Millet makes it more of a cone and less of a block. Again, Van Gogh's style was to be more blocky, but you can kind of see how Millet, in terms of what he was thinking about, it does look a little wedge-like. There are clearly a shadow plane and a light plane, but I think it's a little bit softer than what Van Gogh did. There's this fold that really helps indicate the movement of the leg, in that this leg, the body's moving forward and the leg is remaining backwards. Lovely. Nice deep shadow underneath the kneecap, and he, Millet does use a round part to indicate the kneecap and the top of the tibia. A lot of the times when you're sketching with fabric, it's good to know what the anatomy is underneath it, to help guide, help strengthen the drawing. This foot is a little bit flatter, but Van Gogh picked up on the front toe of the clog, and then the back, and the heel is elevated off the ground slightly. Nice. And the shadow is built off of the XY, meaning there's lines that show the flat part, and then also almost like a grid on the ground. There's the front of the thigh, the back of the thigh. The leg comes out, and then it goes down, and then it comes out again. He's got this big, like, incredible. I mean, I'm wondering if I don't know this for sure, but the work that he may be on his hands and knees a lot. So, there's like almost like a top portion for the knee that's stretched out, and then there's a bottom portion. It's almost like there's two kneecap regions that may be indicative of the type of work and type of labor that the farmer's up to. So he's got I'm just thinking through the silhouettes, because these are Millet's clear ideas, and they're much more identifiable, where Van Gogh was really, I think, more focused on his paint, his mark making, and his color than he was necessarily being accurate in the drawing. There is this beautiful, almost pyramid form at the bell bottom. I made that leg way too long. Forgive me. I think I made that leg too long because I got excited about the double kneecap notion. I'm just gonna edit that. Get the bell bottom. And he's using cross hatching in the shadows because this is a print. It's not a painting, and it's not actually a drawing. This is an etching. So the way that the shading is built up is through accumulating these hatch marks. And I wasn't intending on going into all that, but there was, I think there's time here in the next 3 minutes. The foot looks the same, slipper, clog, toe. And then where the foot is in contact with the ground, heel, and then sock. Nice. I really hope this is able to form. Okay, there, I bought myself some more room. Right arm, shoulder to elbow. The sleeve of the elbow puffs downwards and then back up. There's the knuckles. Fingers are bent. Thumb. Get a little bit of the wrist, and then the cuff. And the cuff is more prominent in Millet's than in Van Gogh's because Millet is distinguishing that from the background because the silhouette line is so dark and the trees in the background are much lighter. Where with Van Gogh, the color was almost exactly the same. There's the top angle of the handle of the pitchfork, and that's going to tuck underneath the thumb here. Van Gogh picked up on the dark line on the bottom of the pitchfork, which helps describe the nature of it being in shadow, being away from the light source. Van Gogh it looks as though the pitchfork here is a little bit more stylized, meaning there's the tooth and then an S curves in, and you get the middle, and the other side is going to S curve in. And you can kind of see that the wooden part attaches to the metal, and it really gets a curvy side. The first one is straight, 1, 2, 3, and then this side curves down and then back up again. 1, 2, and then finishes off with a triangle tip. It's a trident pitchfork. The folds in this arm are those kind of teardrop folds that pull into the armpit. As this arm pulls up, the sleeve gets caught in his back, and that's where these radiating lines come from. And then the folds in the forearm are much less, there's less tension and more shadow. The handle of the pitchfork throws a shadow onto the shoulder. And unbelievably intensely, the shadow on the back of this character, from the back of the neck to the shadow, there is an ear, I love that, but the shadow from the brim of the hat on the face, the shadow on the back of the hat, to the back of the arm, everything, the whole back end is way, 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 way darker. And Millet is working with a black and white medium, like we are, like we're making dark marks on a light page, where Van Gogh was working with colors. And it's a different game. Van Gogh wasn't playing the same game that Millet was playing, which is what kind of makes it fun. Van Gogh cared about the colors. He used the composition, but he invested more into the colors. Where Millet was here investing in the chiaroscuro, which is the Italian way of saying light and shade. So Van Gogh's not right, Millet's not wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with artistic choices and the reasons for aesthetic reasons for using lights and darks. I just can't believe how how dark this all is. Having studied the Van Gogh, that's like probably the major difference between these two pictures, is how dark the shadows of the Millets go. All right, people. That was so intense, and I hope I didn't make you guys think that that you were a genius or hopeless, because we're dealing with some of the greatest artists that have ever walked the face of the earth, and we're just trying to extrapolate knowledge from them. Oh, I didn't do the face. All right, 6:02. Let's do the face. Van Gogh is actually very on point with the face. Bridge of the nose, nostrils, upper lip, lower lip, a little bit more prominent, a little bit pointier chin. And then most of the skin on the face are dark midtones. And the dark of that handle is what passes behind the neck. Now he's got such a skinny neck. It's okay. The way that Millet is sketching the shade on the hat, it really allows, it's no wonder Van Gogh thought it was a straw hat. You can see the weave. Anybody want to show? No pressure. I'd still love to see it though. Sebastian, you look like you're working pretty hard. Whoa. Yes. Oh my gosh. Cool. That's a nice one. He's the guy looks a little I had this one student on Wednesday who really his name is, he's younger. And he loves Scooby-Doo, but I don't like Scooby-Doo. I don't like the vibe of the show. I've never really been that into it. Anyway, this guy has a shaggy kind of feel. And he's like tall and lanky and a little hunched over with a baggy shirt, skinny legs. I didn't see that until right now. Cool. Anybody else? Julia, Mr. Messick, Nico. Anybody? Maya. Fair warning. I gotta go. It's 6:05. I gotta get some food. Can I see anybody's? No, Julia, you don't want to show?
Can I go? My mom just called me for dinner.
Oh, yeah, you can go.
I
All right, y'all.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Have a great week, everybody. I hope it wasn't too hard. But we're gonna have I hope you have a wonderful week. And if you want the video, I can send you that too. Just email me. See y'all.
You.